What's going on, people? My name's Louis Asgar. Welcome to the first episode of the Asgar Talks Football podcast. As you can probably tell, it's my first time doing one of these. It's been something I've wanted to do for a long time now. I've been following Arsenal all my life since I was a young boy. Whole family Arsenal supporters. I share a season ticket with my cousin. Try and go as much as possible. And I figured I spend all my week talking and thinking about Arsenal as it is, so I might as well start up my own channel. So what you can expect from me moving forward is previews and reactions to games on the weekend, as well as sort of Champions League roundups, transfer rumor roundups, and just general chit chat about the big six teams and all the teams below, and talking points after the weekend. So yeah, hopefully, I can continue to build and grow and invest in the space. As you can see, I'm in my garage here. It's not particularly glamorous, but I'll get a green screen and we'll sort things out. And yeah, if there's anything you can think I can work on, leave a comment and let me know. But I'm going to continue to build over the season and hopefully watch Arsenal lift the Premier League. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I'm still adjusting the StreamYard, as you can tell. So as we all watched on Sunday, it's a bit of a weird one leading up to the game. We had a bit of a sort of mixed bag pre-season, some good things, some bad things. We looked pretty vulnerable defensively. And, I think Arteta was trying out a lot of different things, rotating players in different positions and assessing his options moving forward. But, the Community Shield is really what you make of it. If you win it, we're here all lapping up all the content and excited and, can't get enough of it and rewatching clips. And if you lose it, it's just a pre-season friendly and, it's not a big deal. It doesn't affect, our season moving forward. But I do think we do have a sort of inferiority complex with Man City. They pipped us at the end last season, and to be honest, they schooled us at times, and it was quite demoralizing to see them go through the gears and really outclass us towards the end. So I was getting stick at work because I was saying this is good for Arsenal. It's like getting over that hurdle, showing that you can beat them moving forward. So yeah, and I think it breeds a winning mentality, getting used to these moments, and the team would have bonded over the weekend, building up to it and celebrating, and it hopefully should give us a nice platform leading up to the first game on Saturday. So I'm personally happy. So we can't complain about beating Man City, can we? So just a few talking points. I would say it was good to see Saliba back to his best, wasn't it? I mean, he had that dodgy game against Barcelona where he sort of was diving in late and he looked a bit out of sorts. But, up against Haaland, he really did look like he was back to his best. I think Haaland had 13 touches before he was dragged. Now, we all know he's going to kick into gear at some point and, he's not up to full speed. But I really did think he was impressive. So let's move into the first half review. I thought the first 30 minutes were largely dominated by Man City. It was really one-sided. They didn't give us the ball at all. We couldn't get it off them. A part of me thinks that they were, preserving a bit of energy and controlling the pace of the game and dictating terms a little bit. I think they were about a week and a half behind us in terms of their pre-season. So I don't blame them for a bit of game management. But then up until that Havertz chance where Ben White sort of broke down the right with a nice touch inside and Havertz got a shot off in the box, it kind of shook them a little bit and we started growing into it. And the last sort of 20 minutes or so, I really thought we grew into the game nicely. We were applying a lot of pressure and I thought we could have nicked one. I thought Timber was excellent in all departments. I thought defensively, you know, he's really quite dominant, isn't he? He's kind of got that Zinchenko ability on the ball, but he's just got that different sort of prowess about him going the other way. Um, I've absolutely loved what I've seen from him. Um, you can't drop him. From what he's shown, you can't drop him. He seems like he's been playing in our system for months already, which is really impressive. So I've got all credit to him. I thought Ben White's been playing really well as well. It always strikes me how naturally fit he is. Like he's putting in a lot of minutes early in pre-season, and he always looks just incredibly capable. And he's really adapted to that right back role in the last year. And to be honest with you, I don't think you can drop either of the fullbacks moving into the first game of the season, even if Zinchenko's fit. I was really impressed with Havertz in moments. He's a sort of different pressing style from Jesus and Nketiah. He more cuts the passing lanes rather than is harassing and pressing. He's a big lad, so he covers a lot of space, and he's a very intelligent. Uh, he's got very intelligent movement, especially in and around the box. And obviously, he had those two chances, which you would have liked for him to finish one of those, definitely. But hopefully, he builds confidence from there. I was really impressed with Declan Rice, and he seems a lot fitter than what he was in the last game. He was dropping deep into a sort of centre back, left back role that Zinchenko was, that Xhaka was doing last year. And again, a part of me thinks that it was a bit of game management. Steady the ship, see through the phases when Man City have the ball. Respect that. Don't go gung ho and knacker yourself out. Respect that, and then wait for your time to secure the ball and move forward. And I thought him dropping back secured us in that way. But in general, I thought the defensive shape was excellent. I thought we looked tight. Maybe in the transition after we've attacked, going back the other way, I think we still do look a bit vulnerable. But yeah, it's interesting. The games against Man City, they are kind of like lots of mini games within one. You can imagine them preparing for a defensive onslaught for 15 minutes where they literally won't touch the ball at all, and then training for scenarios where you have to strike on a counter, or when we do get the ball, we then shift into our possession based shape. So it's a really interesting game, really. I think the refereeing, it was interesting, wasn't it? I'm personally in favour of um, the added time and cutting the sort of time wasting. We all know as Arsenal fans that it's infuriating at times last season. So I'm all for that, like that they did in the World Cup. But I really did feel like they were trying to make an example out of Mikel Arteta, and a few of the cynical fouls probably were yellow cards, but they weren't going the other way to City at times, and it did feel a little bit like we were being made an example of. Um, but hey, we got to get used to that. If it shows that we're doing something right, we're getting lots of stick. So you know, I embrace it. Really, bring it on. That's what I say. Moving on to the second half. Again, I thought it started a little bit like the first half. City sort of came out the blocks quickly and kept the ball. I thought by this time Odegaard really grew into the game. I thought he was exceptional at times, just ghosting in the space and keeping the ball. That piece of skill he did against Kovacic and Alvarez, he's just absolute class, and I really think he leads the line well. And obviously we've got some big leaders in the changing room, but I still think Odegaard is just a role model for everyone. I think he's absolutely exceptional. Obviously, City made a few changes. Cole Palmer came on the right and had a absolutely lovely finish off that right. The move started off of Partey pressing and getting spun by Phil Foden, which I thought he should have probably done better there, maybe just marshalled him rather than diving in. And again, that soft yellow card he got, he could have probably dragged him down. But instead he gets rolled, and Tierney probably got a little bit unlucky. He got a slight touch onto it, but all credit to him. He seems like a great player. Cole Palmer, great finish. Ramsdale couldn't have done anything about it. We made a few changes. Tierney came on, Eddie Nketiah came on, and Trossard came on. I think Timber and a couple of the guys did definitely start to fatigue by that 60th, 70th minute. And you can immediately see, Nketiah is a completely different style player. He was harassing the keeper and putting his weight around, and I actually thought he did really well running those channels. Trossard's exceptional. Yeah, I think ever since he's come in, he's either scored or assisted, or he's impacted the game in one way or another, and I think he's impressive. And again, a big couple of weeks for Ramsdale. He came out with that interview, very open and honest interview, which I thought was very impressive on the players' I think it's Tribune or Tribunal. If you haven't seen that, definitely go and look at that. But I thought he had two or three outstanding saves. I think he's really taken this Raya link, to heart, and I think quality players react to competition in a positive way. Maybe unlike Balogun is at the moment, but that's another story. We'll get to that. But yeah, it was just a good sight to watch us fight back to the very end. And at the end of the half, Saliba was basically playing as a one-man defense, and we were just going for it. And obviously we got a stroke of luck. There was a big deflection, but Trossard has the courage to take that shot and risk getting it wrong to get it right. And I think we should do that more this season. Take shots and be bold in our decisions. And sometimes I feel like we try to score the perfect goal, and you've got to have that bravery and commit to get the deflection. So all credit to Trossard on that one. So yeah, the game in general I thought was fairly even. I do think Arsenal were the better side. I think we had slightly less possession than them, but I think the quality of our attacks definitely outshone Man City's. So moving on to the penalty shootout, probably best that we didn't have extra time. I think that would have been not called for. But yeah, Odegaard steps up, slots it in. I reckon he should be our penalty taker moving forward. I think maybe Saka should hold the duties, but I think if he misses another one, I think Odegaard looks really composed and he's ice cool. Maybe just take a bit of that limelight off Saka, But either way, it's a good position to be in, to have more than one quality penalty taker. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne steps up and hits the bar. I've got no doubt that come Saturday or Friday for Man City moving forward, that one goes in the top bins. I think he's had no minutes in pre-season, so I'm going to make the most of Kevin De Bruyne and not scoring against us, because I'm sick of him punishing us the minute he gets a chance. I think Bernardo Silva scores and Trossard scores for us, and it's 2-1. And then obviously, who was it that stepped up? Rodri. Oh yeah, Poetry. Rodri, the pantomime villain who's been winding us up. He's an absolute quality footballer. He's probably the best holding midfielder in the league, but he is so frustrating and he's such a wind-up merchant. He buys all the fouls and he acts like he never does anything wrong, but he's always at it himself. Credit to him, but I can't lie. Seeing Ramsdale save that penalty was a very enjoyable moment. And then to see Fabio Vieira, who I've been critical of recently, I think he's grown in confidence, and this preseason he's got a lot of minutes. And fair play to him. It's good to see him smiling and growing in confidence, and that would be a big deal for him. The Community Shield, ultimately, it's not the biggest deal, but these moments, they give the platform for the players to build on. They'll be buzzing for Saturday's game at 12:30. They'll be absolutely buzzing now, because they would have been shown what it can be like walking up that stairs as winners in front of Man City, and they'll be hungry. So all credit to Fabio Vieira, all credit to Ramsdale for getting that penalty save, because he's definitely had that sort of stigma attached to him that he can't save penalties. So hopefully he can put that behind him and get a few more throughout the season. So we're going to move on to player ratings now. Let me just get onto share screen. I'm still getting to grips with this screen, StreamYard. But bear with me, and I'm sure I'll be. Right, let's have a look. Here we go. I'm just going to share this screen with you guys. So I'm going to go through player ratings. Ramsdale, I think he was exceptional, to be honest with you. I love seeing him perform well. I think I personally resonate with him. I think he's a lad. You could see him down the pub or in your local. He's not. He doesn't feel out of touch with society. He seems like a normal, down to earth lad, and I love to see him do well, especially hearing after the difficulties that he's had recently. Ben White, I thought business as usual for him. Motoring up and down that right flank, defensively sound. I actually think that arguably we've got the best balanced defence at the moment, no doubt with City, but our two defences, I think, are head and shoulders above any other team in the league. If you're wondering why I'm looking this way, I've got two monitors going on, so I'm, moving on to Saliba. Again, as I mentioned earlier on, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. I'd probably give him a 9 out of 10. I don't think he could have done anything better, to be honest with you. He's just so confident. And I really do think that if he stayed injury free last season, we would have been in a much better position to finish up top of the table last year. I think Gabriel was at his best again. He's so physical and such a big presence, and he covers round that left back role so well. That's a lot of space to cover, and he really does have an outstanding partnership with Saliba. And if they could just start every single game for 38 games coming up, I think we've got a really good chance of staying solid moving forward. Yuri Timber, I think, has probably been the most outstanding signing so far in terms of his performance. I've got no doubt that all the other players will bed in and will reap the rewards, but he's been absolutely exceptional since he's come in. He just knits everything together, and he looks so confident. I get the feeling that his whole life has been building up to this moment, moving to Arsenal, and I feel like he's really relishing the opportunity and the pressure, and he's just absolutely top class, and full props to the club to getting him in over Man United, who no doubt were interested, and I couldn't be happier with him. Moving into the midfield, Thomas Partey. I think he had moments where he was at his best, sort of shimmying past people and doing those cute little passes through the lines, and moving things forward and sweeping up at the back. I think he had one or two moments where we had loose touches, and obviously he dived in to press Phil Foden and got spun. So I'm probably going to give him a 7 out of 10. But I love to see him at the base of that midfield with Declan Rice moving forward. I think that is our most secure midfield. Moving on to Declan Rice, I think he is like an iPhone 14 with iOS 6. He's been playing under David Moyes for a few years, and the West Ham system's completely different. He's got so much capacity and potential to evolve in our role, but you can see he's still, slightly hesitant in his progressive moves, but he's definitely growing. And I think this was his best performance in all of pre-season. Um, that time in the second half where he came charging back, you really saw his running power, and he intercepted Bernardo Silva. I think he's going to be a huge presence in that midfield, and if he can just become a little bit cuter and become a bit more progressive, I think you'll see us squeezing teams high up the field and suffocating them. Um, and yeah, I absolutely love him. I think he's going to be brilliant. I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. Moving on to his midfield partner, Odegaard. You know, I really do think that this guy's one of the classiest players about. I absolutely love him, and for 30 million, you've got to say that's probably one of the best bits of business in Europe in the last 5 years. I don't think you can get a better value for money player than that. I think he absolutely epitomizes who and what we want to be as a club, and I think he's a great leader. Some of those touches and some of the shimmies that he does are just outstanding. And to be honest, it's a privilege to get to watch him every other weekend at the Emirates. Um, I think he really does wear that shirt, represent that shirt in the way that Arsene Wenger and the legacy of Arsenal would want him to. So keep tying him down to contracts, and make him the focal point of what we're doing moving forward, because I can't get enough of watching this guy play. Moving on to the front three, Bukayo Saka I thought he's always threatening. He's always gonna win a few 1v1s down that right flank, but I thought he was a little bit off it. Few heavy touches, and I remember there was a pass out to Fabio Vieira quite late on into the game that was just a bit too heavy, not weighted correctly. Who knows? They could be training very hard and getting their fitness up to scratch. It could have been a little bit leggy, but we've seen this with Bukayo. He constantly performs, and he has these games, and I've just got absolute faith that he's going to bounce back come Saturday. So I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Moving on to Martinelli on the left. Again, I think dangerous and threatening, but he's a little bit, when he's not at full speed, he can be a little bit rash, and he's not the silky smooth technically, maybe as Saka is, but his raw pace, he's always a threat. And I back him to really hit the ground running, but he was a little bit maybe wasteful at times. So I'm probably going to give him a 6 out of 10 as well. Maybe a bit harsh, but it's only because I know what those two are capable of. Moving on to Havertz now, obviously that was the big surprise, wasn't it? As the lineup came out. Personally, I'm all for seeing him as the 9. He's a big presence up top. We haven't really got that person. The what's the word I'm looking for? The way he can sort of adapt to different roles, and he dropped into the attacking midfield towards the end, and the variety of positions he can play. I think he's a big asset for us. I'd love to see him grow in confidence. He probably should have left Wembley yesterday with a goal for himself, but I think some of the hold-up play was really encouraging, and I can imagine him taking the ball down, losing his man and spreading the ball out wide to either Saka, Martinelli, or whoever our wingers are on the day. And I can see that being a really damaging technique for teams moving forward. So encouraging in all. I'd probably give him a 7, because I'm encouraged and I really do want him to prove the doubters wrong. I think he's exceptionally talented, and I raised the point, and I saw this debate on Twitter in the week. What forward has succeeded in Chelsea in the last 5 years since Eden Hazard left? I would argue every single one of them has probably underperformed when you think of Ziyech and uh, Lukaku and Pulisic and Havertz and Mount towards the end of things. I'm sure there's even more, but I can't actually recall one of them actually hitting the heights that their technical ability suggests they should do. So I'm really keen to see Havertz grow in our squad. It seems like the right environment for him. Moving on to the substitutes, I'm just going to go quickly on them. I thought Tierney looked quite vulnerable. I felt a bit sorry for him because Cole Palmer scored directly from his side within a few minutes of him coming in. So, it doesn't look great, but I thought he was a little bit scrappy and not particularly composed, but it wasn't a particularly long amount of time. So, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. So I'll probably give him a standard 5 out of 10. And moving on to Eddie Nketiah and Trossard, I absolutely love Trossard. I think he is really hard done by to not be starting every game for us. But I think Arteta likes the fact that he, is like a finisher. He can come on and his ball retention, those skills really are damaging towards the end of the game because no one can get near him. And, he's always impactful. So he's a very decisive player. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 just because he always seems to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And, ultimately his risk taking led to us getting the goal that took us to penalties. Eddie Nketiah, for his energy and his pressing, I'm going to give him a 7. And Fabio Vieira and Emil Smith-Rowe, I thought, looked tidy. There was a few nice little passages of play. Emil Smith-Rowe 2 seasons ago was probably one of my favourite players in the squad. He had a difficult season last season, so I'd love to see him come on as a sub and nick a few goals in the weeks to come and really try and push Declan Rice or Odegaard and even Martinelli on that left wing for a starting spot. So, moving forward, I would really like to see him, starting and challenging and get back into that England squad because he really was climbing up so quickly. And then, he had that difficult year. So all in all, I think it was a positive day out for the lads and all the fans as well to get out to Wembley. I think the last time we were there, it was during the lockdowns and whatnot. So, the energy is going to be great going into the Forest game next Saturday. I'm going to be there. I'm absolutely buzzing for it. I booked my day off work well in advance. So, bring it on. I hope we should do the business then. But yeah, all in all, I thought it was enjoyable to get that sort of competitive feel back to things. And, really, the season is just around the corner now, isn't it? So it's exciting times. But I'm just going to finish with some closing thoughts. As I say, apologies for any patchiness or if I've lost my train of thought or I've been sort of pausing in my speech a little bit. It's not particularly natural for me at the moment speaking in front of the camera, but I really do believe that, I have some valid talking points and, I live and breathe this stuff. So, as I build my confidence and understand StreamYard a little bit better, I really hope to bring you some regular content and some good insights. I want to build a community here, a positive, forward-thinking, smart community where we can exchange ideas. And I want to hear from you guys. So stick with me. As I progress and learn and improve the space that I'm in and equipment that I can use and my confidence behind the camera. But that's going to wrap it up for today. Again, my first episode, so leave a like or a comment. Any constructive criticism, I can absolutely handle that. So yeah, I'm gonna be back during the week with a preview before the week's fixtures. Buzzing for the season, buzzing for the win, and yeah, all the best to you guys. Let's hope for a amazing season, and hopefully you guys can stick with me throughout it, and we can build our own little community. Okay, guys. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening if you're in the UK, or if you're elsewhere in the world. Enjoy the rest of your days. And as I said, my name's Louis from the Asgoff Talks Football podcast. Appreciate you tuning in for today. And I'll be in touch. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.